My husband shocked me by saying he'd cheat if his partner got cancer and couldn't have shocks. I recently found myself confronting an unexpected side of my husband that left me feeling utterly shocked and disillusioned. At 35 years old, I thought I knew him well, but a recent incident revealed a troubling perspective I never anticipated. It all began when my husband's friend Zach, who was also 35, went through a rough breakup. Zach was struggling, so my husband decided to invite him over for a weekend getaway to help him unwind and distract himself. With the three of us together, we headed out to a local bar for dinner and drinks, hoping to lift Zach's spirits. As soon as we settled in, Zach started to open up about his breakup. His main concern revolved around his lack of physical attraction to his ex-girlfriend's body type. She wasn't overweight, she was just a bit thicker than the women he usually dated. My husband attempted to reassure him that attraction is subjective and can vary from person to person. I let them continue their conversation, but soon I noticed my husband taking the discussion down a much darker path. He began asserting that society was pushing the narrative that men shouldn't care about physical attraction. He insisted that men have to find women of all sizes attractive, even suggesting that societal pressures were making men feel guilty for having preferences. He launched into rants of personal responsibility, bringing up grim anecdotes about people with disabled partners and issues of morbid obesity, claiming it was acceptable to leave such partners. Feeling increasingly uncomfortable, I jumped into the conversation. I asked my husband what he thought about situations where a partner might have a medical condition that impacted their appearance or abilities. Zach chimed in, echoing my concern. But instead of addressing our points, my husband became defensive, perceiving us as ganging up on him. He argued that sharing his unpopular opinion was just a reflection of how society tries to shame men. I couldn't help but raise my voice in frustration. It angered me that he seemed to be dismissing my perspective while labeling me as an overly sensitive person. Yes, I agree there's an obesity problem, and I wouldn't want anyone to see me in that state if I ever found myself in a similar situation. But I was hurt that he painted me as the villain for voicing my concerns. He responded with phrases like, "Stay in your lane," claiming that's just how men talk. As the conversation escalated, it became clear that my husband even believed it was acceptable to leave a partner who had cancer and could no longer be intimate. He dismissed the notion that people shouldn't cheat if their partner was ill, referring to those who think otherwise as pathetic. At that moment, I was so disgusted I didn't want to contribute any further. I let them continue their conversation while I withdrew into my thoughts. I always heard about men like this, but never thought my husband would be one of them. If my partner, the person I promised to love and support, were diagnosed with a serious illness, my focus would be on caring for them. To me, the idea of abandoning someone in their time of need contradicts everything we vowed to each other. After we got home, I tried to talk to him privately while Zach was in another room. I was seeking reassurance, especially since I had surgery scheduled for a benign condition soon. It had been a while since we had been intimate, and the anxiety surrounding my procedure was weighing heavily on both of us. I cautiously asked him how long he would wait for me to recover if something were to happen to me. Instead of answering, he appeared offended and simply said, "What do you mean? I married you." Given his earlier comments, I pressed on. "But that's conditional, right?" There was a long pause before he exploded in frustration, exclaiming, "A year," in a dismissive tone, before following up with, "Don't ask me stupid questions." I felt crushed. After he went to bed, I spent the next half hour crying alone on the couch, trying to process what had just happened. Eventually, I drifted off to sleep. The next morning, I made my way to bed an hour before he usually leaves for work. He reacted by turning on the bright overhead light, slamming dresser drawers, and storming out, making it clear he wanted nothing to do with me. The atmosphere was tense and hostile, and he continued to avoid me throughout the day, exchanging only a couple of curt remarks while casting disgusted glances my way. With Zach still at our place, it felt impossible to approach my husband about the previous night's conversation. I had no idea when I would get the chance to talk to him again. As the hours passed, I grew more anxious, especially with my surgery approaching. I felt completely uncertain about whether he would be there to support me or even drive me to the hospital. I had no one else available to help, which meant I might have to take an Uber. Meanwhile, I sat at home feeling like a complete loser while my husband and Zach enjoyed a night out at the bars. I couldn't shake the worry that my husband might even cross boundaries with other women, especially since he was clearly upset with me. It baffled me that he seemed angry at me for questioning him about his insensitive remarks. I thought my reactions were justified. I found myself grappling with how to even start a conversation about this when the opportunity arose. The urge to reach out and text him was strong, but I knew I had to hold back for now. TLDR, my husband revealed a troubling view on partners leaving each other during serious medical issues. After I confronted him, he dismissed my concerns and has been treating me poorly since. I'm worried about my upcoming surgery and whether he will even be there to support me.